If you grew up between the mid-1960s and 1980, you already know that the music of your generation hit differently. Cassette tapes, boom boxes, MTV in its actual glory days, and a radio that played things you hadn't heard before every single week. If any of that rings true, these are the songs that will make you homesick for the good times. Number 15, Electric Avenue by Eddie Grant, 1982. Eddie Grant recorded Electric Avenue in his own Blue Wave Studios in Barbados, a studio he had built himself after leaving the Equals, the British band he had fronted in the 1960s. The song was released in November 1982 and reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 in March 1983, spending 19 weeks on the chart. In the United Kingdom, it reached number 2 as well. Electric Avenue is a real street in Brixton, South London, one of the first commercial streets in the area to be lit by electric lighting in the late 19th century. The song was written partly in response to the Brixton riots of April 1981, when 3 nights of confrontation between the black community in Brixton and the Metropolitan Police resulted in widespread damage to the area and over 300 police injuries. Grant used the street as a setting for a broader meditation on poverty and social tension. The recording has a specific production quality, the reggae-influenced rhythm, the compressed synthesizer sound, the way Grant's voice sits against the rhythm section. That is inseparable from 1982 in the way that very few recordings are inseparable from their moment. For Gen X listeners who encountered it on radio or early MTV, the combination of the exotic production sound and the physical energy of the rhythm made it one of those songs that stopped you wherever you were. It has since appeared in dozens of film and television productions as shorthand for the early 1980s. Number 14, Come On Eileen by Dexy's Midnight Runners, 1982. Kevin Rowland formed Dexy's Midnight Runners in Birmingham in 1978 after leaving the Killjoys, and the band went through multiple lineup changes and at least 2 complete changes of musical direction before Come On Eileen was recorded. The song was written by Rowland, Jim Patterson, and Kevin Adams, and it appeared on the album 2 Rye A, released in July 1982. The recording uses acoustic instruments, fiddles, a banjo, acoustic guitar, in a way that was genuinely unusual for the British charts in 1982. The rhythm is relentless in a way that acoustic instruments rarely achieve, and the fiddle arrangement gives the song a Celtic folk energy that sat outside everything else on the radio at that moment. Helen O'Hara's fiddle playing is the recording's most distinctive element, and it gives the song a texture that synthesizer-based production simply could not have replicated. Come On Eileen reached number 1 on the UK singles chart in June 1982 and spent 4 weeks at the top. In the United States, it reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in March 1983. It was the best-selling single in the United Kingdom for 1982. The band appeared on Top of the Pops and Dungarees. Rowland's vision for the band's image was as developed as his vision for the music, and the combination gave Come On Eileen a total identity that radio hits rarely achieve. Number 13, 8675309's Jenny by Tommy Tutone, 1981. Tommy Tutone was a California power pop band fronted by Tommy Heath and guitarist Jim Keller, and 8675309/Jenny was recorded for their second album Tommy Tutone 2, released in September of 1981. The song was written by Keller and Alex Call. Call has said he wrote the title and the phone number first, then built the lyric around them. The song reached number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 in May 1982. Its commercial impact was not limited to the chart position. The phone number 8675309 became one of the most dialed numbers in the United States in 1982. People in every area code picked up their phones and dialed it to see if there was actually a Jenny on the other end. Telephone companies and businesses with that number in various area codes were flooded with calls for months. The song has not left American popular culture since. The number 8675309 was sold as a vanity phone number at auction in 2004. Tommy Tutone never had a comparable commercial success, and 867-5309's Jenny is one of those singular recordings that defines a band's entire commercial identity without any help from anything else they recorded. For Gen X listeners, hearing the opening guitar riff is still enough to make an entire year come rushing back. Number 12, Girls Just Want to Have Fun by Cyndi Lauper, 1983. Cyndi Lauper recorded Girls Just Want to Have Fun for her debut album, She's So Unusual, released in October 1983. The song was written by Robert Hazard, who had recorded his own version in 1979 as a more sexually aggressive track from a male perspective. Lauper and her co-producer Rick Chertoff transformed it, reversing the perspective and turning it into a celebration of female freedom and pleasure. The recording is built on a bright, aggressive synthesizer production that was entirely characteristic of 1983, but that Lauper delivered with a specific personality: the New York accent, the theatricality of the vocal, the sense that the person singing it was entirely committed to the premise. That made it something more than a competent pop production. The music video, directed by Ed Griles, featured Lauper's mother, Katrine, and her actual friends and family members, which gave it a quality of genuine joy rather than manufactured pop optimism. The single reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 in February 1984 and spent 2 weeks there. It won the Grammy Award for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance in 1985. She's So Unusual was the first debut album by a female artist to produce 4 top 5 singles on the Billboard Hot 100. Lauper's visual style, the clashing fabrics, the layered accessories, the dyed hair, influenced a generation of teenage girls in ways that fashion history has since acknowledged formally. Number 11, Take On Me. Morten Harket, Paul Vakhtar, and Magna Furuholmen, who had been working toward a commercial breakthrough in the British and American markets since the early 1980s. Take On Me was recorded 3 times before it became a hit. The first 2 versions were released in Norway and in the United Kingdom, without making a significant commercial impression. The third version, produced by Alan Tarney, was released in October 1985 and reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, spending 1 week at the top. The song's commercial breakthrough was inseparable from its music video. Directed by Steve Barron, it combined pencil sketch rotoscope animation and live-action footage, a technique requiring approximately 16 weeks of work, to tell the story of a young woman pulled into a comic book world. MTV played it in heavy rotation, and the visual concept gave the song a visibility that radio play alone could not have generated. The video won 6 MTV Video Music Awards in 1986, including Video of the Year. Toured extensively in support of the single, playing to audiences in the United States and Europe who had encountered the band primarily through the video rather than through radio. The song's specific synthesizer riff and Harket's vocal range, he reaches notes in the chorus that require genuine technique, have kept it in active circulation on 1980s retrospective playlists for 40 years. Number 10, Walking on Sunshine by Katrina and the Waves, 1985. Katrina and the Waves were a band with an unusual formation history. They were a British band formed from the remnants of a Canadian band called The Waves, fronted by Katrina Leskinich, an American from Topeka, Kansas, who had grown up on U.S. military bases in the United Kingdom. The combination gave them a sound that was simultaneously British and American, familiar and foreign. Walking on Sunshine was written by Kimberly Rue and recorded for the band's debut album, released in 1985. The song's energy, the brass section, the gospel-influenced backing vocals, the relentlessness of the forward momentum is among the purest expressions of uncomplicated joy in the history of popular music. It doesn't attempt complexity, It attempts exhilaration, and it achieves it. The single reached number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 8 in the United Kingdom. It won the Ivor Novello Award for Best Song in 1986. The band subsequently struggled to produce a comparable follow-up commercially, though they continued recording and touring. Walking on Sunshine entered the permanent rotation of film and television soundtracks that reach for the specific feeling of summer arriving. Every film that needs a viewer to feel the sensation of an excellent day has used it or considered using it. The song is now essentially a sonic synonym for uncomplicated happiness. Number 9. Need You Tonight by INXS, 1987. INXS had been building their international profile since the early 1980s, releasing 5 albums in Australia before their commercial breakthrough in the United States. Kick, their 6th album, was released in October of 1987, and Need You Tonight was the lead single. The recording was constructed from a guitar riff that Andrew Ferris had laid down on a home cassette recorder and mailed to Michael Hutchence while the two were in different countries. Hutchence received the tape, wrote the lyric, and the song was assembled from that exchange. The finished recording is built around the riff and Hutchence's vocal, which is as direct and physical as anything he recorded. He had a specific quality of frontal intimacy in his voice, the sense that he was singing specifically to whoever was listening. Need You Tonight reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in January 1988, spending 1 week at the top. The accompanying music video by director Richard Lowenstein was one of the more visually striking videos of the MTV era. Black and white, fast cut, built on images of desire and urban life. Kick sold over 10 million copies worldwide. Michael Hutchence died in November of 1997 at the age of 37. The recordings he left with INXS across the 1980s represent one of the decade's most consistent bodies of work, and Need You Tonight is the recording that most completely captures what made him an irreplaceable frontman. Number 8. Sweet Child O' Mine by Guns N' Roses, 1988. Guns N' Roses recorded Appetite for Destruction in Los Angeles with producer Mike Klink in 1986 and 1987. And the album was released in July 1987. Sweet Child O' Mine was released as a single in August 1988, more than a year after the album, and reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in September 1988, spending 2 weeks there. The guitar riff was written by Slash as a finger exercise, something he played to warm up, not a composed piece of music. Axl Rose heard it, called it a song, and built the rest of the track around it. Slash has said in interviews that he was initially dismissive of the riff because it seemed too simple, and that Rose's insistence on using it as the basis of a song was the correct call. The melody of the verse vocal was built around the riff, and the way those two elements fit together gives the song its specific character. Appetite for Destruction sold over 18 million copies in the United States alone, making it the best-selling debut album in American music history. Sweet Child O' Mine remains the band's most commercially successful single. Slash's guitar solo in the final section, ascending and descending through the song's harmonic structure with a combination of speed and melodic invention, is one of the more studied guitar solos of its era. The song belongs to a very specific summer, 1988, when it seemed to be coming from every car, every window, and every radio in America simultaneously. Number 7. Pour Some Sugar on Me by Def Leppard, 1987. Def Leppard recorded Hysteria over 3 years from 1984 to 1987, a production timeline extended significantly by drummer Rick Allen's loss of his left arm in a car accident on December 31, 1984. Allen returned to the band and developed a drum kit that allowed him to perform with his feet and one arm, a kit designed with assistance from the Simmons Electronic Drums Company, and his return to recording and eventually to live performance became one of the more remarkable stories in rock music history. Pour Some Sugar on Me was written late in the Hysteria sessions, added to the album when producer Robert John Mutt Long felt the record needed another strong commercial track. It was recorded quickly relative to the rest of the album's painstaking production. The song reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 in August 1988, and Hysteria became one of the best-selling albums of the decade, eventually selling over 25 million copies worldwide. The production quality of Hysteria, layered vocals, compressed guitar sounds, the specific sheen Lang brought to everything he touched was the defining sound of hard rock in the late 1980s. Def Leppard were a Sheffield band who had worked their way up through British clubs before achieving commercial dominance in America. Pour Some Sugar on Me is the distillation of everything the band had been working toward for a decade, a song that sounds like nothing else and like exactly what it is simultaneously. Number 6. Come As You Are by Nirvana, 1992. Nirvana released Nevermind in September 1991, and the album's commercial impact was extraordinary. It sold 300,000 copies in its first week and continued accelerating from there. Come As You Are was released as the second single in March 1992 and reached number 3 on the Billboard Mainstream Rock chart and number 9 on the Hot 100. The song is built on a guitar riff recorded with heavy chorus effect, giving it a liquid, underwater quality that distinguishes it from the more abrasive material on the album. Kurt Cobain wrote the lyric as a series of apparent contradictions, instructions that undermine themselves, which gave the song a quality of unstable reassurance that matched the emotional register of the band's audience in ways that the band itself was perhaps only partly aware of. The Come As You Are invitation is genuine, and the contradictions around it are also genuine, and the tension between them is the song. Cobain died in April 1994 at the age of 27. Nevermind has since sold over 30 million copies worldwide. For Gen X listeners, the album arrived at a specific cultural moment, when the glossier productions of the late 1980s had begun to feel hollow and something rawer was needed. And Come As You Are was one of the recordings that gave that feeling a precise and beautiful form. Number 5. Nun Luftballons by 1983. Nena was a West German band fronted by singer Gabriele Kerner, who performed under the name Nena. The song was released in West Germany in January 1983 and reached number 1 there before becoming an international phenomenon. In the United Kingdom, it reached number 1 on the UK singles chart in March 1984. In the United States, the German-language original reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, an extraordinary chart position for a song that American radio was playing in a language most of its audience did not speak. The lyric was written by Carlo Carges, who was inspired by a concert he attended in West Berlin where the band released balloons into the air, and Carges began thinking about what would happen if those balloons drifted across the Berlin Wall and were interpreted as a military threat. The Cold War context, West Germany was the front line of a potential Soviet-American confrontation, gave the lyric a specific resonance that German audiences recognized immediately and that international audiences absorbed emotionally even without the words. An English-language version was recorded but was generally considered less effective than the original. Many American radio stations played the German version. For Gen X listeners who encountered it on early MTV or on FM radio in 1983 and 1984, the combination of not knowing exactly what the song was saying and understanding its energy completely was one of the more unusual listening experiences of the decade. The song is about balloons setting off a nuclear war. It is also one of the most purely enjoyable records of the 1980s. Number 4. Summer of '69 by Bryan Adams, 1985. Bryan Adams released Reckless in November 1984 and Summer of '69 was released as a single in June 1985. The song was co-written by Adams and Jim Vallance, who had been writing together since the late 1970s and who produced some of the most commercially successful Canadian rock recordings of the decade. The title's reference is deliberately ambiguous. Adams has said in interviews that he intended it primarily as a reference to the year 1969, but the sexual double meaning of the phrase was also intentional. The song is a compressed autobiography of early rock and roll life. The first guitar, the band, the girlfriend, the stand on the hometown strip, delivered with an urgency and an emotional directness that made it one of the more immediately accessible recordings of its era. Summer of '69 reached number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 42 in the United Kingdom, where Adams was less commercially dominant than in North America. The song has since been used at sporting events, graduation ceremonies, and summer-themed events across North America with a consistency that suggests it has crossed from song to cultural touchstone. It is played at the ends of things, the ends of seasons, the ends of school years, the ends of decades in retrospective programming, because it captures the specific feeling of something being simultaneously present and already receding into memory. Number 3. Jump by Van Halen, 1984. Van Halen released Jump in January 1984 and it reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in February, spending 5 weeks at the top. The song was built on a synthesizer riff that Eddie Van Halen had written on his Oberheim OBXA keyboard, an unusual instrument for a band whose commercial identity had been built almost entirely on Eddie's guitar playing. The rest of the band was initially resistant to building a song around a keyboard riff. The producer, Ted Templeman, supported it. Jump became Van Halen's only number 1 single. The synthesizer riff is one of the most immediately recognizable in the history of American rock radio. The song opens on it, and it does not stop. David Lee Roth's vocal and stage presence, which in concert and in the music video was among the more theatrical in rock, gave the recording its specific energy. Roth left Van Halen in 1985, shortly after Jump's commercial peak, and the departure ended the band's most commercially successful lineup. The recordings with Roth have a quality of barely controlled chaos, the sense that the show might fall apart at any moment and will be better if it doesn't, that the subsequent lineup with Sammy Hagar approached differently. 1984 sold over 10 million copies in the United States. Jump was everywhere in the first months of 1984 in a way that songs rarely achieve. Not just on radio, but in gyms, in schools, in the background of every public space where music was playing. For Gen X listeners, the synthesizer opening of Jump is one of those sounds that makes a specific year materialize instantly. Number 2, Don't You Forget About Me by Simple Minds, 1985. Simple Minds were asked to record Don't You Forget About Me for the soundtrack of John Hughes's The Breakfast Club, written by Keith Forsey and Steve Schiff, and lead singer Jim Kerr was initially reluctant to record a song the band hadn't written. He agreed. The song was recorded in 1984 and released in February 1985. It reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in May 1985, spending 1 week at the top. The film it accompanied, which depicted 5 high school students from different social groups spending a Saturday in detention together, was one of the primary documents of Gen X adolescence. The combination of the film and the song created a cultural artifact that has proven more durable than either element separately. People who have not seen The Breakfast Club know the song, and people who have seen it cannot hear the song without seeing Judd Nelson's raised fist in the closing image. The song was nominated for the Grammy Award for Best Pop Performance by a Duo or Group. Simple Minds' relationship with it has been complicated. It was their greatest commercial success by a significant margin, and not representative of the atmospheric album-oriented rock they had built across the early 1980s. But the song is theirs, and what it did for their commercial reach internationally is permanent. For Gen X, Don't You Forget About Me is not just a song. It is a permission slip to feel everything that being 16 felt like. Number 1, I Love Rock and Roll by Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, 1981. Joan Jett had recorded a version of I Love Rock and Roll in 1979 with Steve Jones and Paul Cook of the Sex Pistols, but that version was not released widely. She re-recorded it with her own band, the Blackhearts, in 1981. The song was originally written and recorded by the Arrows, a British band, in 1975, and Jet had seen the Arrows perform it on British television during a UK trip with the Runaways. The Blackhearts version was released in November 1981 and reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in March 1982, spending 7 weeks at the top, making it one of the longest-running #1 singles of that year. The production is built almost entirely on the power of its central riff and on Jet's vocal, which has a quality of total commitment. She doesn't approach the material with any irony or distance, she means every word of it, and that sincerity is the recording's defining quality. Joan Jett had formed the Runaways in Los Angeles in 1975 at the age of 15, making her one of the youngest musicians to front a serious commercial rock act in American music history. When the Runaways dissolved in 1979, she was told by 23 different record labels that nobody would sign a female rock act. She founded Blackheart Records herself and released the record independently. The industry that had rejected her watched I Love Rock and Roll spend 7 weeks at #1. For Gen X listeners who heard it in 1982, the song was an object lesson in confidence, in the specific quality of someone who had been told no by everyone and had decided not to accept it. The riff, the production, the voice, and the specific knowledge of what it took to get there combined into one of the most fully satisfying #1 singles of the decade. If any of these just pulled you back to your best years, hit the like button and subscribe. There are more playlists like this one waiting.